What good folks, it's Dark319 and welcome to another What If and a new one for you. What if Naruto gained the power of the Predator Part 1? So like, comment, subscribe and share, but besides all that, enjoy the video. Chapter 1. A new predator. Naruto was panting heavily while carrying an unconscious Sasuke on his back, as blood leaked from the side of his mouth, coughing heavily every few seconds due to the blood that flooded his lungs from the Chidori that the Uchiha had hit him with. It was close, but after changing the trajectory of the Rasengan at the last minute had allowed the blonde to knock his opponent into the statue of Uchiha Madara, and into involuntary nap land. Damn team. When we get back, I'm requesting you go on a diet because you're too damn heavy, said Naruto, as stumbled while nearing the gates, and barely held the boy on his back to make it there. The instant Naruto made it into the gates, he saw the crowd of people awaiting for him, and the blonde thought that this time he had won the hearts of the village. After all the crap he put up with growing up, maybe they would see that he was not the monster they made the poor blonde out to be, and see that Uzumaki Naruto was not the Kyuubi. Sadly, Naruto was more wrong than they were. Look what the demon did to the Uchiha. Kill him. Kill the demon to avenge the Uchiha. Called out one civilian while more cried out for the same thing and began to move to attack the boy while saving the Uchiha at the same time. Or they would have, if not for the barrier of sand that swarmed to protect the blonde, and Gaara now standing beside him looking very angry. Come Naruto-san, I will assist you in taking the Uchiha to the hospital, and provide the needed protection from these idiots, said Gaara, as he used his sand to take them to the hospital while the mob crying out for justice, and followed the two demon vessels. Konoha Hospital. Sometime later, Tsunade looked down at the bandaged broken body of the blonde that lay on the medical bed in front of her, as she saw the injuries the Uchiha gave the boy, and the Chidori to the chest that filled the Sannin turn Hokage with rage at their shared sensei. Ah, who was she kidding? Hatake didn't teach Naruto crap aside from tree walking, and then there was the academy's teachers clearly disliking the boy enough to disrupt his learning. Something she would clearly change when this was over. At least the Gaki didn't die like Dan or Nawaki due to that damn necklace. Seems you are strong enough to break its curse, Naruto, thought Tsunade, as she left to take care of the traitor, but had made it clear that only Shizune and herself would look after Naruto. She didn't trust them any further than the necklace Naruto wore. If anything, she trusted the necklace more, and the people in the village less if what Gaara told her was true. As she left Naruto to heal, Sakura was visiting the Uchiha at the exact same time to see the boy had a few cuts, bruises, and a few broken bones from slamming into that statue at high speed via Rasengan. Aside from that, Sasuke seemed fine and stable, thanks to being heavily sedated, though the scowl on the Uchiha's face didn't seem to want to leave. Poor Sasuke. Look at all these injuries. This is all Naruto Baka's fault. Well, when I see him, I'm going to show him the meaning of pain, and pound that Baka into paste, thought Sakura, as she touched Sasuke's face affectionately, and pulled her hand back when the door opened to reveal an angry Tsunade glaring daggers at her crush. So, here lies the almighty traitor Uchiha Sasuke, and in all his proud spoiled glory. How pathetic, said Tsunade, as she checked the boy over, and ignored the pink-haired girl's glare. Hokage-sama. Please come quick. There is a mob at the hospital doors and they are all demanding the Uzumaki boy be killed, said a nurse, who was one of the rare ones that didn't hate Naruto, and saw the Sannin scowling even further. That does it. I have had it with these fools, said Tsunade, as she walked past the nurse, and to the front entrance of the hospital. Why couldn't they leave the poor boy alone? Secret council chambers. Sometime later, do we have the fire daimyo's approval? Said Homura, as he saw Danzo nod his head, and produce the orders signed by the fire daimyo himself with the seal to prove it. Yes. The lies we told him have secured our actions to go completely unopposed in this matter, and soon after we will have the ultimate secret weapon capable of making us the superior village in all the elemental countries, said Danzo, as he told his allies in this to set up a much needed council meeting with the Hokage and the clan heads to make sure they got what they needed. Soon, the village would be his, and then, all of the elemental countries would follow. 3 days later, why have you called a meeting for? You realize I have important patients waiting for me at the hospital, an Uchiha to keep in check for his traitorous actions, and let's not forget the very boy you all hate responsible for bringing him back to the leaf instead of into Orochimaru's boy-loving arms, said Tsunade, as she saw them scowl at her for that, and almost instantly it went away with a sense of calmness in them, like they still had the upper hand in something. Yes. Speaking of that boy being responsible for some things, it has come to our attention by the fire daimyo himself that Uzumaki Naruto be banished immediately from the leaf right after he is cleared to leave the hospital, said Danzo, as he was going right for the pre-verbal jugular, and getting the boy as soon as possible. What? On what grounds is this even being allowed? said Tsunade, as she was given the scroll, and read the contents within it before unleashing killer intent at them for the clear lies that were written in this thing over the reasons the boy should be banished. Fighting Leaf civilians, fighting Leaf shinobi, insubordination of Leaf shinobi of Chunin rank or higher, conspiring with enemies of the Leaf, failure to kill enemies of the Leaf, damaging property within the Leaf, disrespecting the authority of the Hokage. Okay, that last one Tsunade could see was partially true, but only in terms of calling her old sensei old man, and for herself being called granny. But that was it. As you can see, the Fire Daimyo is less than pleased with just how Naruto is being left uncontrolled in the village, and has seen fit to remove the boy from the Leaf entirely. But the man is merciful, as if you notice that the man has also decreed that if the blonde has shown some form of control over his life during his banishment, he will be allowed back into Konoha, and reinstated as a shinobi of the Leaf, said Danzo, as he smirked at the way he manipulated this, and knew that soon after the boy was properly conditioned he would write a new report for the feudal lord telling of his monitoring of the demon brat's progress in being more disciplined. Soon after, Naruto would be unleashed on Tsunade, and by that time the old war hawk knew that the slug princess would not have the strength to fight the blonde. These are lies. Naruto has been fighting civilians? More like they've been fighting him. Arguing with Leaf shinobi? How about getting his so-called sensei to train him and get someone else less suited for it? I'm going to appeal his decision, said Tsunade, as she saw they were a little irked by this, and hadn't expected her to put up a fight on the matter with the blonde. Still, appeals of the Fire Daimyo's decisions take weeks, months, and even years, with so many events to block paperwork from being processed. It is your right to do so, Hokage-sama, but until then, the boy has to be banished, and if he is not out of the village shortly after he's recovered will be considered an enemy of the Leaf before being executed, said Koharu, as she saw Tsunade looking ready to smash her head clean off her body, and resisted the urge to squeeze her hands together under the table. And what of Uchiha Sasuke? Don't tell me he is going to just get a slap on the wrist just because he's the last Uchiha within the village? Said Tsunade, who saw the two councils about to speak on that subject when Hiashi rose from his seat, and glared at everyone to hold their tongues. No, Hokage-sama. Since Uchiha Sasuke is part of a clan, this falls under clan matters, and all clan matters are handled by clans of the Leaf when one does harm to others. The Uchiha's traitorous actions threatens the clans within Konoha, and he will judged by us and pay for his crimes by our ruling, said Hiashi, as he saw the two councils protest this, and silenced them with his Byakugan pulsing from his eyes. Really? Then what is your decision regarding him, if I may ask? Said Tsunade, as she saw many of them smirk, and it was Inuzuka Tsume rising this time. We the clan heads, hereby remove Uchiha Sasuke of his clan rights along with that of his clan from having status in the Leaf, and demote him down to that of what he would most likely consider commoner status. In addition, the Uchiha estates are to be taken down to be paved way for new housing projects, and help the village fill the hole that Uchiha Itachi made when killing all the former clan. Also, all funds within the Uchiha's bank accounts will be seized, and divided up among the clan heads with an equal portion going to all of us, said Tsume, as she felt the acts of the Uchiha were unforgivable, as her clan prided itself on loyalty, and such things need to be dealt with swiftly. This is not fair. Uchiha Sasuke was manipulated by that demon fox and Orochimaru, said a civilian councilman, as he saw Tsunade glaring at him, and made the man quiver in fear. While I disagree with the first part of your statement, I won't deny that the curse seal my former teammate gave Sasuke did give the boy a hard push in the range of psychotic behavior, and even as we speak Jiraiya is sealing it away in a more effective manner with the boy's bloodline to follow given the clan heads ruling in this matter, said Tsunade, as she saw the two councils protesting this, and were silenced by her fist hitting the table. Damn. If I try to overrule Tsunade's decision by going to the Fire Daimyo now, she'll use it to appeal the decision regarding the Kyuubi brat, and challenge it with proof I do not have other than the words of few spiteful villagers, thought Danzo, as he knew that alone was not enough to keep the Fire Daimyo from changing his decision, and probing deeper into the hole he had dug for himself if caught. Though Danzo had no intention of getting caught. This meeting is now adjourned. I have to see my patients, and for one of them, I have to break his heart knowing this village backstabbed him for his loyalty. You just better pray this doesn't come back to bite you all in the ass, said Tsunade, as she left to carry out her duties, and one she was going to hate so very much. Hospital several days later. Hey Naruto. How does it feel to be the one to complete such a troublesome high-ranked mission? Said Shikamaru, as he came to see his good friend, and winced inwardly at his bandaged condition. Not bad, though the food tastes horrible. Why? Want to switch places? Said Naruto, as he saw Shikamaru wave his hands up defensively, and answer with a no to the question. As much as I would like to be on a bed looking at a ceiling so I can picture clouds, I will pass due to the beating you got, and just leave it at that, said Shikamaru, as he saw the blonde laugh, and then saw Naruto wincing in pain a bit. How did Sakura take the news? Is she happy? Said Naruto, as he saw Shikamaru raise an eyebrow at the notice of him not using the chan suffix with the girl's name, and before he could respond the door to the room was kicked open with the said girl looking very angry with him. You! How dare you do that to Sasuke-kun? I asked you to bring him back, Naruto baka. Not crush his body into powder, said Sakura, as she was livid, and shocked both boys in the room since Naruto was more injured than Sasuke was. I had to fight him, Sakura. If I didn't, he would have escaped to sound, and gone straight to Orochimaru, said Naruto, who saw Sakura wasn't listening, and looked like she was going to kill him. Shut up, baka. Just shut up, you worthless baka. I hate you. I hate everything about you. You're nothing. Always will be nothing. Do everybody a favor and just die, said Sakura, as she yelled the last part before cocking her hand back to slap him, but was stopped by Shikamaru using his shadow possession jutsu, and stopped the limb from connecting. Are you crazy? Naruto is in worse shape than Sasuke because unlike your oh so precious Uchiha a few corners down, he held back, and only used his skills to knock the traitor unconscious, said Shikamaru, as he used his jutsu to pull Sakura back, and now began to call for help. I don't care, said Sakura, as she tried to fight the shadow possession jutsu, and Naruto trying to find a way to get away from her despite his injuries. Well, you should, said Gaara, as he had heard the cries for help, and after assisting the Hokage in scaring away the angry mob of Naruto haters had come here to see the blonde. Only to find this happening. How fitting. A monster helping out another monster. I hope you two go to hell, said Sakura, as she was finally released from Shikamaru's jutsu, and left while glaring at the blonde in the room before leaving its presence. Damn. This is why I keep telling people women are troublesome, but does anyone take me seriously, or even believe me when I tell them that? No, said Shikamaru, as he sat down in a nearby chair, and sighed heavily while looking at Naruto with a depressed face like someone had told him his parents died. You hate it when people call you that like I do. Why don't you strike back? Said Gaara, as he saw Naruto look at him with sad blue eyes, and it nearly made the newly appointed Kazekage want to flinch. And then what? I fight back, the people will think the seal is weakening, and kill me if they don't have me locked up. Unlike you, Gaara, I don't have a shield, and my seal was made to keep my demon's power under wraps while yours was made to do the opposite, said Naruto, as he didn't care that Shikamaru was in the room hearing this, and figured that the lazy Nara would figure it out sooner rather than later. Point taken. Get better and stronger, Naruto. I have a feeling that you will need to for the harsh upcoming trials ahead, said Gaara, as he saw Naruto nod before leaving, and left the curious Nara in the room with the blonde. I take it the demon he's referring to has 9 tails and looks like a fox? Said Shikamaru, as he saw Naruto nod his head, and sighed at this news. You've seen it when we were kids, Shikamaru. The glares, why the people want me dead, and even more so on my birthday. I've stared into the face of death so many times, I feel like the Shinigami is trying to get me, and the fox in his belly like he is in some kind of a big hurry, said Naruto, as he saw Shikamaru shiver, and the blonde didn't blame him. Troublesome. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated. What's next? Said Shikamaru, as he tuned to see the door opening again, and this time saw Tsunade coming in looking very very sad. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I've got some bad news. The councils with the support of the Fire Daimyo has issued you be banished from the leaf until further notice, said Tsunade, as she saw Naruto's eyes widen, and Shikamaru shot up out of his chair faster than any Nara in history. What? Why? The retrieval team succeeded in the mission to bring back Sasuke. How can you even banish a shinobi for succeeding in a mission like this? Said Shikamaru, as he looked at Naruto, who had a look mixed with sadness, pain, and more importantly if not clearly, anger. So they want me gone, huh? After all the years I put up with them, they kick me out, and say get lost for doing the mission I was assigned? Well, I say fine. Fuck them. Fuck them all and their precious Uchiha. I hope they choke on that small cock the teams got shoved up their mouths, said Naruto, as his anger at the leaf was rising, and was ignoring the 2 people in room with their shocked expressions from his choice of words. Well, it wasn't a total loss. The clan heads decided to punish Sasuke rather than let the 2 councils do it, which would have been nothing, and took away Sasuke's status along with his clan from being a clan altogether. Any privileges he may have had before have been revoked, meaning he's now a simple commoner compared to the other clans, and I'm having Jiraiya seal up the curse seal along with his bloodline forever, said Tsunade, as she Naruto grinned viciously at her, and saw an almost sick joy in seeing Sasuke taken down like that. Good. Let's see this village do anything right without me around to do all the leg work now, said Naruto, since he did all the work for Team 7 despite what Kakashi put in his reports to inflame the glory of the team's not so grand greatness, as their precious Uchiha no longer was able to use his precious bloodline, and being unable to make little Uchiha bastard babies. What are you going to tell the others? Said Tsunade, as she knew many of them would want answers, and others like Sakura wouldn't exactly lose a tear over him being gone. Goodbye for one. Other than that, nothing, said Naruto, as he felt depressed again, and saw Tsunade flinch at this. Well, you've healed enough that even I have to clear you from the hospital, and send you home to clear out, said Tsunade, as she knew the fox had healed the boy pretty good, and should be back to full strength soon. Great. The instant I leave, the people here will beat me up so badly I'll be back in this room, and then those bastards will have an excuse to punish me for not leaving right away, said Naruto, as he got out of bed, and put on new clothes that Tsunade got for him that for once didn't have a lot of orange on it. She felt crimson and black was more fitting. Has Kakashi come to see you? Said Tsunade, as she had not seen the man since Naruto was in the hospital, and wondered where he was. No. Probably by the memorial stone before getting ready to hover around his favorite student while pleading apology after apology for not training him better. You know he actually passed me over during the Chunin exams for Ebisu? Ebisu. That lowly closet pervert wanted to teach me chakra control for the exams. Why the hell do I even need it when I have too much chakra to even control in the first place? Even worse was the guy didn't even like me from the start, so all it did was make things worse, said Naruto, as he put on the black pants, and the crimson shirt despite a few aching muscles still protesting. Bastard, said Tsunade, as she was going to teach Kakashi a lesson, and make him suffer for this. Don't sweat it, Granny. Besides, I've got friends outside of the village, who will gladly take me in, and help me with my training, said Naruto, as he smirked at her, and saw the Hokage's eyes become softer at this. You've got 2 days to leave, Naruto, but it's sad to say that one of them is today, and you have already spent most of it here, said Tsunade, as she saw him nod, and then smirked since he was going to have to give the village a going away gift before leaving. So all I've got is a day and a half. Plenty of time, said Naruto, as he made his way to the window, and opened it before getting ready to leave. You're not leaving the front way? Said Tsunade, as she saw him look back at her with a look that said, you're joking, right? On it. Those fools are just waiting for me to come out the front door so they can put me back in here. Why should I give them any kind of satisfaction? Said Naruto, as he leapt out the window, and into the village below to prepare the leave for what was to come shortly after his absence. Naruto may have only a day and a half, but people tend to forget he is well versed in a single jutsu that can even the odds in any fight. The Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto's apartment, when Naruto arrived cautiously at his so-called home, as he saw that it had amazingly been untouched by the villagers, and when he entered saw Hatake Kakashi now looking quite serious when the Jounin turned to face him. Naruto of course was on guard and got ready to substitute himself with one of his shadow clones already dispatched throughout the village should his so-called sensei try anything. Naruto, I need you to come with me to speak to the Hokage. I need you to convince her to stop Jiraiya-sama from sealing away Sasuke's Sharingan eyes, said Kakashi, as he saw Naruto look at him with angry stare, and it confused the Jounin. You want me to ask Granny to spare that team? After what he did to me? Sasuke put not one, but 2 Chidoras through my chest, sensei, and I do believe you were the only one outside of the Uchiha clan to make one. Why the hell would I even help you keep him active when his mind is already off the reservation? Said Naruto, as he saw Kakashi's eyes widen, and then narrow at him while balling his fists in anger. Because he is your teammate, Naruto. I thought you were thick in the skull, but now I find out you're worse of a baka than I thought, and now I see you are lower than trash, said Kakashi, as he begins to walk out, but is stopped by a bone-crushing grip by Naruto now covered in aura of orange, and slammed hard into the wall before the blonde stared at him with anger written all over his face. I am lower than trash? I am lower than trash? I saved your ass from Momochi Zabuza when Sasuke quivered up in a ball like baby. I saved Inari's family from Gato's thugs while you were getting your ass handed to you on the bridge. I inspired the people of Wave to fight for what was theirs. I stopped Subabku no Gara from unleashing his demon, which was going to destroy the village, all the while Sasuke looked on in fear. Should I keep going on or should I keep burying you further in guilt? I have worked my hands to the bone for this village while Sasuke gets all the credit and you train him while I get shafted through the whole deal. And for what? The team's Sharingan. Why? An old debt that needs to be repaid by your dear dead Uchiha of a friend, who probably would have made a better sensei than you, and wouldn't have played favorites. I'm not the one who is the trash here, Hatake. You are, said Naruto before kneeing the shocked man right in the gut, and made the Jounin fall to his knees coughing through his mask before removing it to puke on the floor. Bravo, kid. The one good thing you've done with my power aside from beating that damn Uchiha brat with it, said QB, as he had awakened from its slumber just in time to see its vessel do this while drawing on the demonic chakra. Yeah, well, get used to it, Fox. I'm going to make the people of Konoha cry in their sleep and wailing like babies to have me back in the leaf to defend them, thought Naruto, as he made some more clones to help gather his stuff, and saw Kakashi looking up at him with his one wide eye. What are you doing, Naruto? Said Kakashi, as he saw the small group of Narutos begin packing things up, and Original looking even angrier at him. You don't know? Kami, you are so stupid, it's practically pathetic that you are so focused on the Uchiha, which has blinded you to the point that you were able to ignore me this much. Hell, the decision to have me banished from the leaf came first, and the Uchiha's punishment and having his bloodline sealed came second. Yet here you are to have me save the traitor from his punishment without even knowing, much less caring to find out about the very person, your own student you neglected, who brought him back in the first place, and even worse called lower than trash to my face, said Naruto, as he laughed a hollow laugh before looking at his clones to see they had finished, and left the room after the Original spit on the ground in front of Kakashi. Naruto was so angry with Kakashi, and Kakashi was in such a daze that neither one noticed the shadow figure of a certain Hyuga girl having heard the entire conversation via open window with a nearby tree having a branch extending close by. Naruto-kun is being banished? No. Thought Hinata, as she rushed off to the Hokage's office, and would demand an explanation from her. Hinata had been happy that Naruto came back alive with Uchiha Sasuke, and the simple fact he came back alive at all was enough to make her heart leap with joy 1,000 times over. However, the joy left when Hinata saw the angry mob forming to attack Naruto before Gaara intervened, and took the two boys to the hospital to be treated for their injuries. She didn't know why they acted like that towards Naruto. Even when she was a child, Hinata saw only goodness in the boy's heart, and wanting to become strong to protect everyone around him. Now here Hinata was, hearing how after all that had happened in such a short time, the boy she admired for long, found inspiration, and even a Nindo to believe in was being kicked out of the village for succeeding in his mission. It didn't make sense in the girl's eyes, and the only one that could possibly even remotely help Hinata make sense of it was the Hokage herself. 2 days later, Naruto sighed heavily, as he was now outside of the village, having said his goodbyes to those that matter. Lee had to be restrained from going ballistic as well as sedated with enough tranquilizer to put down an elephant, and was now out on his own without any kind of protection against his enemies, within and without, wanting him dead. It was fine with Naruto, as he could finally go out, find people to train him in different arts, and get stronger so he could show those assholes what it means to kick out a hero of the leaf. At least I've got you, Fox. You may be a demon, but if I die, then you die, and if you want to survive you better help me get stronger. You don't want the Shinigami to get the last laugh, do you? Thought Naruto, as he leapt his way from tree to tree since he didn't trust the roads, and felt more at home in the trees anyway. Point taken, kid. Not to mention, I have a score of my own to settle, and you are going to help me make it happen, said QB, but the last part was more to himself than to Naruto, and was quite pleased with his vessel as of late. Such thoughts were ended when a volley of shuriken came to Naruto's left, which the blonde dodged by ducking behind a nearby tree, and peeked out to see the direction the weapons were thrown. Narrowing his eyes, the young blonde saw the squad of Onbu with the kanji for root written on it, and the captain of this squad had his sword out. Uzumaki Naruto, by the orders of Danzo, we are here to bring you to him for a secret position within his organization, and turn you into a secret weapon for the good of the leaf, said the root captain, as he waited for the blonde to make his decision, and got ready to fight if Naruto decided to resist. Really? Well, you can just tell that Baka Danzo he can kiss the fattest part of my ramen-loving QB sealed within ass, said Naruto, as he had been readying an explosive tag during the man's talking, and threw it in the direction of the root captain before taking off deeper into the trees. The tag went off before hitting the root captain, which was Naruto's intention from the start, as it would cause the group to scatter, and by the time they could form some way of regrouping it would allow him to get farther away from his pursuers. The plan didn't last very long though, as the root Onbu coming after him were catching up quickly, and were now in the process of attacking him with various jutsus once they saw a chance to aim them at his back. We need a plan, kid. Your body is still not 100% and to fight them would only make things worse, said QB, as he saw his vessel was still in need of another full day in terms of healing, and to do that required not being attacked by anyone the whole time. Don't I know it? Damn, Team's Chidori is still causing some pain in my chest, thought Naruto, as he dodged a fireball jutsu, and then a water cannon jutsu that shattered a tree near him. Earth style, ground shifting jutsu, said the root captain, as he moved from the trees, and had dived to the ground to use the jutsu that uprooted the trees around Naruto. The blonde was thrown off his tree just moments after his feet had touched the branch, with the end result sending Naruto skidding until he landed near a cliff with the bottom looking bottomless and dark. Naruto saw it, as he saw the root shinobi all surrounding him now in a half-circle formation, with his choice of death being at the hands of them, or the fall from the cliff below. Fox. Quick question. If I fall from this cliff, is there a chance I'll survive, and avoid being caught by these guys? Thought Naruto, as he saw QB look at him with narrow eyes, and looking quite unhappy right now. What kind of question is that? Granted, dying from falling off the cliff would be better than dying at their hands, but I will not have that even be considered an option, and demand that you fight them to the end, said QB, as the fox was more than ready to give the blonde enough of its chakra to wipe them out, and claim victory by killing every single one of those around them. Alright, thought Naruto, as he quickly made shadow clones, and began to engage the root shinobi around him. The battle, while difficult, seemed to be going slowly in Naruto's favor, as he kept making shadow clones to overwhelm his opponents, and was even killed a few of them after a bit of synchronizing with his clones to strike vital spots with kunai. The root captain was struck by the original via Rasengan, which sent the man flying into fallen trees behind him, but even as that happened, the root shinobi had thrown an explosive tag at the ground where Naruto was, and sent the blonde flying over the cliff after Naruto tried to get away. By this point, the Naruto shadow clones were dispersed by the explosion, and any hope of substituting with them was lost to the blonde, and fell off the cliff while trying to use QB's chakra to grab onto the wall. However, the QB's chakra was too strong to grip onto anything, and his body was picking up speed that it was making things even more difficult. Then everything went dark for Naruto, as he was swallowed up into the darkness below, and it was all the boy saw for some time. Konoha at the moment, the people had partied the instant word got out about Naruto's banishment, which was mere minutes after the blonde's body was out of the village's walls, and cheering on about how they were free of the demon spawn. However, the day after the party, things started to go bad for everyone in the village that hated Naruto, and many were now weeping out in misery. When Naruto was getting ready to leave the leaf, his shadow clones had been hard at work making sure that the people of Konoha did not enjoy his leaving, and their cries of joy would turn into cries of sorrow. The first thing he had his shadow clones do, was do a little plumbing work in the various homes, business, and other buildings within the leaf to go off at a set time. As such, all natural waste would be either clogged, rerouted, and stored in places people wouldn't expect to have their fecal matter unleashed upon them. When people went to take showers, used sinks to wash hands, and to anything short of walking, they were hit with the very waste from the previous day of partying. That wasn't the end of it though, as Naruto wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't do more than that, and he did just that by backing up the sewer system throughout Konoha. With such high pressure of backed up plumbing, the ground underneath the village had exploded at several key street junctions, and caused the natural waste of the village to spray everywhere. In short, Naruto had made the people in the village feel quite literally what he had felt figuratively his whole life by the people in the village, and was regret ever treating him in that manner. Like shit. To further express his anger at the village, Naruto had his shadow clones plant various stink bombs mixed with hard-to-remove paint-based explosives in various buildings that would go off on a timer. When the bombs went off, the shops that kicked him out, or had overcharged Naruto absurd prices for crappy quality equipment, were ruined to the point of tearing the buildings down, though given the war the leaf was in would cause a lot of red tape since funding would be halted for such construction projects to gear the village up for war. In short, those business would either have to put up with the damage, not to mention the stink, or shut down their business for good. Not to mention that Naruto had gotten a hold of certain shops' bookkeeping records they had in their safes and placed them on Tsunade's desk to look at, with a note telling her to compare them with the leaf's own overall financials. It helped when Naruto had looked at the books himself, with QB helping him to highlight certain portions of the book that looked off. Now said people, some were civilian council members, were in her office sweating like pigs, looking like children caught by their mother looking at a dirty magazine, and some were stammering words like children would when caught. Some couldn't even speak in clear sentences, but those that did mumbled, or were speaking in gibberish to Tsunade's presence with Shizune beside her awaiting for a response. They would have gotten a better one from Tauntaun if she were drunk. I've been going over these records of yours from the shops you run from a very good individual, who brought this to my attention, and do you know what I find when I read them? You have been writing numbers that don't add up to what the leaf records hold, and I noticed a specific pattern in all of them. You've been selling poor quality goods at outrageous prices, and all to one person no longer in the village responsible for making you feel quite literally in the shit you made him feel like figuratively. I don't know why the Sandaime let you get away with this, but knowing him, you kept it away from his old heart, since it would have put a good deal of strain on his person, and for that I'm inclined not to charge you with treason. What I am charging you with, however, is extortion, fraud, corruption, and various other charges that land you quite a few sessions with Ibiki with Anko soon following afterwards, before I throw you away in a prison surrounded by all sorts of people that hate the leaf. By the time you are let out, which is a really big if, you will either be leaving there in a body bag, or wish to Kami you had, said Tsunade, as she saw the weak little people now before her sputtering, pleading, and begging that she reconsider such an action. As if they deserve mercy, thought Shizune, as she saw Tsunade narrowing her eyes at them, and finally slam her fist down in anger at having enough of their false begging for forgiveness. Silence. I have had enough of your bitching to me when you don't deserve a single ounce of it. Anbu. Take these maggots out of my sight and tell Ibiki to go all out on them. Don't forget to tell Anko the same damn thing, said Tsunade, as she saw the group crying out still for mercy, and being led away by the Anbu. It's going to take a long time to clean up the mess Naruto left behind. People even now are cursing him, wishing him to die, and even worse is that when people tried to destroy his home they set off some kind of tripwire that caused the apartment complex to blow up with debris scattering everywhere on everyone near it. A large group of people are in the hospital from the building debris mixed with shards of glass, and some have broken bones from having larger portions of rubble fall on them, said Shizune, as she saw her teacher now Hokage narrow her eyes dangerously in deep thought, and then get up from her chair to walk towards the window to look at the populace below now suffering. Doesn't matter, Shizune. They can have all the doctors Naruto had at the hospital, who were always delayed, and give them piss poor medication. By the time Naruto comes back, these people will be on their hands and knees begging the Gaki for forgiveness, said Tsunade, as she saw very few places were spared Naruto's wrath, and those were the homes of the ones that Naruto called friends. I hear Gaara is angry with us and is going to pull away from the alliance before telling the Wind Daimyo everything. No doubt every other place in the elemental countries will get wind of this and raise a figurative stink to this before complaining to the Fire Daimyo and letting this happen, said Shizune, as she saw Tsunade smirk at that, and knew that this would help speed up the appeals process in getting Naruto back in Konoha. Those Baka council members think that they have everything figured out in removing Naruto from the leaf, but they forget that Naruto is a hero to people outside the village, and those people are very influential people. If they cut ties with Fire Country, then the Fire Daimyo will come here, asking us why so many people now hate him for authorizing Naruto's banishment, and one answer is that he's not going to like, said Tsunade, as she saw from her window one food store she knew had once sold rotten food to the blonde now covered in various forms of waste, and making the food worthless to everyone. Speaking of which, some of them want you to send out an Anbu team to kill Naruto, and claim him to be an enemy of Konoha for this, said Shizune, as she saw Tsunade frown at this, and let out a huff before stomping over to her chair to sit down. The only team I would send would be the rookies, and only after the banishment has been removed by the Fire Daimyo, said Tsunade, as she went back to doing her work, and wished the blonde the best of luck. Unknown location, time frame unknown. Naruto opened his eyes, as consciousness finally came back to him, and saw darkness all around him while pulling himself up from the ground. At first, the blonde thought he was in his mindscape again, like that time he was pushed off the cliff by Jiraiya to activate the fox's power, and wondered if he was brought here by the fox to get yelled at again. However, what Naruto soon realized was that he was in fact not in his mindscape, but rather semi-deep within the gaping hole at the bottom of the cliff he fell down, and had landed on what felt to him like metal. Looking around while trying to adjust his eyes, Naruto looked around to see he was on a large metal object, and after some stumbling found a way into the strange structure. Wow! This place is incredible. I've never seen anything like this before, thought Naruto, as he saw the inside of structure, and the weird designs of some strange culture. I don't believe it. I thought they were all gone or destroyed, said Kyubi, as he saw what Naruto saw, and recognized these markings along with what they were really in. You know something about this, Kyubi? Thought Naruto, as he sensed the fox nod, and was about to hear an explanation on the subject. Indeed. Long ago, before the elemental countries existed, there was a race of beings from beyond the stars, who hunted only the most worthy of beings for sport, and honor of their clans, with the latter not unlike what you find in some shinobi villages today. They were known as Yaoya. They used to come to this world to prey on human and any other species this world had to offer that they felt was worthy of hunting, said QB, as he saw weapons, masks, and other things this ship had to offer. But you thought they were all gone or destroyed. What did you mean by that? Thought Naruto, as he felt there was more to it than that, and was now looking at a device on the wall that deemed to have a glowing light inside of it that was too tempting to ignore. I meant here on this planet. When me and my kind first roamed the world, the Yaoya had soon come to the realization this world was too much even for them. What's more, the human race had learned to use chakra, and had altered the way things were done since any Yaoya caught would use a powerful bomb to blow themselves up. So they decided to quarantine the planet and listed it off limits for any future hunts due to the many threats the planet's more dangerous species was for them, said QB, as he saw Naruto nodding in understanding, and found it good to know the boy was actually paying attention. There are so many things here that could give any shinobi a run for their money. Could I learn how to use this QB? Thought Naruto, as he saw some of the items here were not so badly damaged by time like one would think. Possibly. This ship seems to have been the last one to be here before the quarantine was set up. Must have happened right after Juubi was sealed and chakra was used by the Sage of the Six Paths. The weapons here are meant to last for a long time even after being used in constant battles, so everything should be in top condition, said QB, who saw Naruto nod, and again look at the device on the wall before walking towards it with a strong desire to look in it. But will I be able to use it? Much less a fraction of it? Thought Naruto, as he looked into the hole of the device on the wall, which morphed into something else, and then grabbed his skull with metallic hands while a chair rose from the ground underneath him that now forced the blonde to sit down with both his hands now being restrained. What did you do, kid? Said QB, as it saw what was happening, and wondered what was about to happen to its vessel. Nothing, I swear. I don't suppose you would know what this thing is that's latched onto my face? Thought Naruto, as he felt something pierce his skin along the veins of his arm, and felt something being injected into his body. QB for its part was checking its own memory for what the boy was now about to be subjected to in terms of Yaoya technology and going on the way Naruto was being held down along with the device attached to its vessel's face. It didn't take long, as QB did indeed know what it was that Naruto was in, and didn't know if this was good thing or a very bad thing. Kid, this is a Yaoya initiation device. There came a time when certain humans and other intelligent creatures would be considered worthy of being part of the Yaoya race. This device would inject certain compatible species with Yaoya blood to make them part Yaoya, give them enhanced speed, strength, and even seeing like they do, said QB, as he already felt the alien blood mixing with Naruto's own, and the seal on its vessel was actually helping the compatibility while the device on the blonde's face began downloading information into the boy's head. It hurts. It feels like I'm having a huge book the size of you being shoved right down my throat. Thought Naruto, as he couldn't shut his eyes due to the device somehow prevented him from trying while images, the knowledge of various weapons used by the Yaoya race against their prey, and the ability to understand the ancient alien writing/language. This is going to be one wild life you've created for yourself, kid, said QB, though it was more to himself than Naruto while the blonde was in pain from the information being forced into his skull. Naruto would have agreed with the fox if he wasn't in so much pain. Konoha 3 years later, Tsunade sighed as she looked over reports she had gotten from various places talking about a demon of sorts terrorizing the elemental countries. It killed anyone apparently within its line of sight, which was strange because no one could even make out the actual appearance of this so-called demon, and all people had to go on were the remains of the victims left behind. Or rather, what was left of the victims. Those that were killed, were hung up in trees, and nearly all of them were quite literally skinned with their internal organs on the ground above them. Some of the others were not skinned, but were missing their skulls, and in two particular cases, the skull along with the spinal cord was missing too. At first, many suspected it was the work of a shinobi village using terror tactics to show their strength, but no village would take credit for it, despite the two councils wanting Tsunade to say as such, and the killings continued without stopping. Missing nin were the first to be slain, as their blood was tested in the database of the shinobi villages were used to identify their remains, and it wasn't easy either. Iwa had lost well over 50 shinobi ranging from Chonin to Anbu, Kumo lost nearly that same number give or take a few shinobi, and the Leaf unfortunately suffered twice as much as theirs combined. Strangely enough, Suna lost the least during the last 3 years, and many suspected that the Kazekage was behind it. However, the Kazekage had lost a close confidant in Baki, who was his sensei during the Chonin exams 3 years ago, and was one of the few victims that had lost their skull with spinal column. It had saddened Gaara greatly, as his former sensei had been supporting him in being the man he should be for Suna, and the Kazekage had put his siblings in charge of who it was that killed their former sensei. Jiraiya had been using his spy network to find this demon, but it proved fruitless in its entirety, as some of his spies within the network were killed too, and it was clear that this thing didn't want to be found. Even Akatsuki was wary of this foe, as they had tried to find it, and possibly recruit the figure into their organization to fill in Orochimaru's vacant spot after leaving. Even now, the bingo book stated this enigmatic enemy of the elemental countries as an S-class criminal, and to flee on sight order while fighting back if only to escape being allowed. It was the one stage higher than the Yondaime received at the end of the last Shinobi War ended, and the various descriptions one would have in seeing this creature was to look for the eyes that seemed to flash red if only for a moment. That was of course if the only survivor, just recently acquired by the leaf, was speaking clearly, though from the way the man, a shinobi from Iwa of all places, acted was indeed the truth. The man had come to their doorstep looking like he had gone through a meat grinder, as he was bleeding heavily, was missing an arm, and screaming out for someone to save him. When the guards at the gate took the, now former, Iwa shinobi directly to the hospital, the man known in several circles as Iwa's boulder destroyer was seen by Tsunade for immediate medical treatment, and soon after being stabilized told the woman everything about what it was that did this to his body. Flashback 3 days ago, "Please don't send me out there again. Please for Kami's sake don't send me back there," said Iwa's once great boulder destroyer, as he was in restraints out of fear he would hurt himself, and was being properly sedated to prevent any kind of attempt. "We won't. Just tell us who did this to you?" said Tsunade, as she didn't even think Ibiki, or Anko even would be necessary to get the truth out the man, since he seemed to be in fear of something that would strike him down on a simple lie. "It was a demon. It was a demon, who makes trophies of shinobi," said the former Iwa shinobi, as he was crying now, and seemed to be looking at the window every few minutes in fear, like the very thing that had done this would come through it to get the rest of his body. "Not again. Well, at least we can get some kind of description of this guy, and work from that," thought Tsunade, as she saw the man look out the window again, and then at her with sweat dripping down his face in waves. Please don't send me out there. Those eyes, those red eyes flashed are aimed at me, and he wants to take my soul." "Please," said the man, as he looked out the window again, and he must have saw something before squirming madly to get free from his bed restraints. Easy. No one will get to you while you are here. I will have some of my very best Anbu stationed outside of your door so no one will get to you without them knowing," said Tsunade, as she increased the man's sedative drip, and waited for the former Iwa shinobi to fall asleep before leaving the room. "You too. Be on your guard. He's the only one right now to survive an attack by this so-called demon, and I need to have Inoiki run through his head for answers," said Tsunade, as she saw her two Anbu guarding the room nodding their heads, and knew this was not an assignment you can afford to be marked down on your record as a failure. End flashback. "Hopefully, we can nail this bastard to the wall, and I can possibly use it to influence the fire daimyo to bring Naruto back to the leaf," said Tsunade to herself, as she wished the blonde Gaki was here now, and calling her granny. After word got out of Naruto's banishment, every person in every country the blonde had ever met was sending letters upon letters to her, and the fire daimyo demanding a full explanation on why their hero was banished. The Hokage of course put the blame on the two councils, and to a lesser extent the fire daimyo, though mentioned that the feudal lord did agree to it without either party letting her know until it had been signed. This caused the fire daimyo to get an increase in his mailbox with angry letters speaking of cutting off trade relations and even war if they weren't given a solid legitimate reason for the blonde's banishment. So the fire daimyo did and sent the list the councils gave him about the reasons the boy was banished, and hope it would satisfy all angry parties. Unfortunately, all it did was do the opposite, and got him more mail indicating such allegations were wrong. So, an inquiry was made by the fire daimyo into these allegations to find out the real reason Naruto was banished, which the two councils tried to cover up, and ordering the reason could not be spoke under a law made by the Sandaime, that they clearly violated in secret, under penalty of death. Tsunade, however, had stated that the reason could be told by Naruto, or the current Hokage of the Leaf. Again, the two councils tried to stop her, but the fire daimyo wanted to hear an explanation now, where the risk of war with another country was a very high possibility. So Tsunade told the fire daimyo about the Kyuubi's attack on the Leaf. Told him about Naruto being the fox's vessel thanks to the Yondaime, with the man's dying wish to see the boy as a hero being denied. In short, Tsunade told him everything, and the look on the man's face was not that of a happy man. When the fire daimyo asked why this wish was never honored, none of the councils, the clan heads, and even the Hokage herself could answer him directly in the eyes. Tsunade could clearly see the man was less than an inch away from summoning all his samurai to Konoha to begin the liquidation of the village, and remove it from the map. It took all of Tsunade's patience and negotiation skills her late sensei had drilled into her skull as a child to persuade the Fire Daimyo to not destroy the village to appease those that were Naruto's allies outside for Fire Country. However, Fire Daimyo had decided to not remove the banishment on Naruto, but only because he felt that it would give the boy a chance to grow without the Leaf Village suffocating him, and improve his skills, and would remove it at a later time with a full pardon on all the past crimes the councils claimed he had done. As for the people of Konoha, the Fire Daimyo ordered that every single one who had hurt Naruto was to be punished in front of everyone, and they were whipped ruthlessly for their actions. None were spared despite the pleas the people had given out during the whippings, which went on for well over a week, and had their family assets taken away to give to Naruto upon his return, if he wanted to return to the Leaf. Their children, like their parents, were poor, feeding out of garbage cans, and doing just about anything they could to survive. As for the Uchiha, the councils had tried to get the Fire Daimyo to have Jiraiya unseal the boy's bloodline, but the man would not hear of it, and ordered Sasuke be locked away in a cell within the village until a set time by the feudal lords himself. Many people in the Leaf were upset by this, but could do nothing lest they invoke the wrath of an angry daimyo, and an army of his samurai. Hokage-sama. Come quick. The man from Iwa is missing and his Anbu guards are dead. It's believed to be the demon the man was talking about earlier, said a Chonin, as he came running in, and report what was seen by two nurses walking down the hall. What? Scrambled the Anbu. Lock down the village right now, said Tsunade, as she was not about to have this guy infiltrate her village, and then leave right from under her nose. Konoha Hospital. Moments ago, the former Iwa shinobi once known as the Boulder Destroyer opened his eyes to find himself in a hospital before looking around to see the condition he was in and reflecting on what had happened during his time out in the field. It had been a simple routine B-ranked mission, which was to investigate the disappearance of another squad consisting of a 2 Chonin and 3 Jounin level shinobi. His squad had found nothing at first, but then a blood trail had been found, and signs of a battle with the victor of it being unknown. When his team branched out, it was then they saw what happened to the other squad, and would haunt him to the end of his days. The entire team had been skinned, internal organs on the ground just above the hanging corpses, and a look of horror on the bloody bodies that were once proud Iwa shinobi. And then my team got hit next. It was like the dead team's bodies was the bait and we fell for the trap it set for us, thought the former Iwa shinobi, as he saw a good friend of his get skewered right through the gut by a pair of blades that went out that same friend's back. Turning his head towards the open window, the Boulder Destroyer saw the beautiful day shining in him, and he smiled despite everything he had been through. However, the smile left him when the window's image seemed to become diluted, and for a moment the former Iwa shinobi thought he was still too tired from the sedatives to see clearly. Wait a minute. The window was closed before he was sedated. So, who opened the window? Then he heard a small growling sound and a flash of those same red eyes appeared for a second before those same pair of blades appeared. The demon who makes trophies of shinobi, said a voice in a distorted version of the man's own from when he spoke to Tsunade. Mercy. Please show mercy, said the man, as the monitoring systems was going crazy, and felt like he was about to have a heart attack. Before the figure could respond, the Anbu outside the room were hearing the sounds of the monitoring systems, and rushed into the room to see being that had scared the Iwa shinobi along with most of the elemental countries. Instantly, the Anbu drew weapons, but were struck down instantly when thunderous sound was heard, and 2 blasts from both shoulders with strange weapons shot off chakra at their heads. The creature turned its attention to the crippled man moving closer for the kill. By the time the nurses arrived to see the dead Anbu, the body of the Boulder Destroyer was gone, and only a small blood trail leading to the window indicated the means of the demon's escape. Just outside the Leaf. Present time, do you see anything, Neji? Said Hinata into her radio piece, as she was looking around with her Byakugan, and saw nothing. Not in this area, Hinata-sama. Do be careful. If this thing is what Hokage-sama believes it to be, you put yourself in danger, and I could not forgive myself if you died, said Neji, as he had been doing everything he could to be the loving cousin Hinata wanted him to be, and helped her during the last 3 years to get stronger. Still, Neji could see at times that Hinata was sad at times, and missed Naruto, that there were occasions where the Hyuga branch member thought he heard crying from her room at night. The boy still remembered Hinata coming to see him in the hospital while he was recovering from the retrieval mission, as her face was flowing with tears, and kept on saying it's not fair. They kicked him out. They kicked him out of the Leaf. Repeatedly until Neji had to ask Hinata what she was talking about. So Hinata told Neji about seeing Tsunade for answers after overhearing Naruto telling Kakashi about his banishment from the Leaf and how the female fire shadow couldn't stop it from happening. Needless to say, if Neji wasn't injured like he was at the time, the Hyuga prodigy would have gone on a rampage, and raised hell regardless if he was taken down by the caged bird seal. "I'll be careful, Neji. I have to be if I'm to see Naruto-kun again," said Hinata, as she had heard from the Hokage about Naruto's banishment being lifted soon once this business was over, since any able leaf shinobi could be recalled into service if it was believed that shinobi's skills could prove vital to the leaf. Granted, it was all a smokescreen to get Naruto back, but any reason to have the blonde back in the leaf was good enough for Hinata, excluding imprisonment or his execution of course, and even more so to have him see just how much she had improved. Hinata's thoughts on the matter ended when she saw movement to her right and went to investigate what her eyes detected. "Neji, I think I see something. Just head to east from your current position to meet up," said Hinata, as she leapt to another tree, and then the next before she found her prey was nowhere to be found. "I'm on my way, Hinata-sama. I'll be there in 5 minutes, said Neji, as he was making his way to Hinata's location, and hoped he wasn't too late to assist her. As she waited, Hinata looked around with her Byakugan, and wondered if this demon was immune to the powers of her clan's bloodline. Hinata would have thought more on the subject, but a volley of kunai from the left came at her, and the Hyuga heiress took out a kunai before deflecting them all. "So the stories of your clan's bloodline are true. You saw my attack with your eyes and were able to deflect them with your kunai. Kumo will pay me handsomely for you, and maybe a bonus considering how many shinobi they've lost in the past 3 years, said a figure appearing from the shadows to reveal none other than Mizuki in shinobi clothing. You're a traitor to the leaf and locked away by Naruto-kun. How did you escape?" said Hinata, as she got into her gentle fist stance, and saw the wicked grin on the man's face. "You can thank my old master Orochimaru for that. Due to the invasion on the leaf years ago, he thinned out Konoha's forces, and then this demon running around has made the ranks thinner than ever before. The guards tend to miss things, and as a result allowed me to break out while letting some inmates around me get free too in order to cover my plan of escaping," said Mizuki, as he saw the girl narrow her eyes at him, and saw him take out a sword he had acquired from his old home. "I won't let you win," said Hinata, as she steadied herself, and saw the man snarl at her with contempt in his eyes. "We'll see if you can stop me. I hardly doubt it from what I remember of your days at the academy with the Kyuubi brat. Did the Hokage tell you the damn demon of a fox was sealed inside of that blonde abomination after his banishment?" "I didn't think so," said Mizuki, as he saw Hinata's shocked expression, and moved in for the kill using the distraction. Hinata for her part, recovered rather quickly in using her kunai to block the sword Mizuki had, and combined it with the grace of her version of Gentle Fist. She kept him back for a time, but the sword was much sharper than her kunai, which broke soon at the beginning of their battle, and barely avoided losing one of her arms in the process. Mizuki saw this and landed a kick to Hinata's stomach that sent the girl from the trees to the ground with a large thud that nearly sent her into unconsciousness. "No. I can't fail here. If I do, everything I have done up until now will be pointless, and I can't give up now," thought Hinata, as she tried to get up, but Mizuki came down, and kicked her in the ribs right into a tree. "I'm sure the rakeage wants you pure, but considering how desperate they are, I doubt they would mind if I gave them you, and a child with the father being none other than me," said Mizuki, as he saw the barely conscious girl try to fight, but her body just didn't have the strength from the fall followed by kick into the tree trunk behind her. "Naruto-kun, I wish you were here. No matter what happens now, my heart will always be yours," thought Hinata, as she would not be afraid, and looked defiantly into Mizuki's eyes while he approached her. "Any last words you wish say while you still have your virginity, my soon-to-be Hyuga bitch?" said Mizuki, as he had kept stalking her like a predator would its prey, and looked at her with hungry eyes. "I hope you die a painful and burn forever in the 9th level of hell," said Hinata, as she saw him smirk at her, and began to undo his clothing. "Sorry bitch, but the only one here who's going to be in pain is Yo-Ah," said Mizuki, as he was struck from behind, and had a bladed staff of some kind coming out of his stomach. "Die," said a deep voice from behind Mizuki, as an invisible hand grabbed the man by the neck, lifted him up over its head, and ripped the traitorous leaf shinobi in half that sprayed blood everywhere. For her part, Hinata was terrified of the sight of seeing someone die in such a way, even if it was Mizuki, and for the most part was glad he was dead. Or rather dying, since the man was only ripped in half at the waist and still had his upper part still intact for the moment. "You fucking monster. Don't you know who I am? I am a former subordinate of the great Orochimaru-sama. Do you know what that man is capable of? He will destroy you once he learns of this and make you beg for death," said Mizuki, as he had blood coming out of his mouth, and looking up at this new foe now revealed to him along with Hinata. The figure's response was driving the sharp tip of the blade from his staff into Mizuki's skull before twisting the blade and then pulling it out again with the staff retracting to a more smaller traveling form. Turning, the masked figure walked towards Hinata slowly like Mizuki did, but without the intentions that the now dead man had in mind, and had stopped a single step from her downed form. "Hey, are you going to kill me?" said Hinata, as she made sure to remember every aspect of this person before her, and saw him tilt his head in thought. He was taller than her by far, which she estimated put him over 6 feet 5 inches going on 6 feet 6 inches in terms of actual height, and his body was thick looking with muscle. His legs were wrapped in fishnet along with his body, as the other part of him was covered in metallic armor that Hinata had never seen before, and on his right arm was some kind of blade at the wrist. His face was a mystery to her, as it was masked with strange eye holes that you could not see through from the outside, but it was clear this person could from the other end, and saw that the sides of the mask had what almost looked like whisker marks on his mask along with a single marking on the forehead of it. Before the figure could answer, she saw movement behind him, and Neji was about to strike using his version of Gentle Fist when the intended target that was this supposed demon leapt backward behind the Hyuga prodigy at the last minute. The masked being leapt into the trees using acrobatics that seemed almost inhuman for one of his size. As he looked at them to see Neji had quickly turned around, carefully maneuvering his body to be Hinata's shield, and readied himself to give his life if need be for her. "You've grown. Both of you," said the figure before disappearing right in front of the two Hyuga using the cloaking device on its wrist and took off having retrieved what he wanted plus an expected bonus. "Hinata-sama, are you alright?" said Neji, as he turned to face her after making sure the area was secured, and sensed other members of the outside team coming their way. "Yes, Neji. I am, and believe it or not, he saved me from him," said Hinata, as she pointed to the corpse of Mizuki, and then to Neji's shocked face. "Did anything else happen before then?" said Neji, as he saw Hinata was going to need medical assistance soon, and gently help her up. "No. Mizuki attacked me. We fought and lost. He was about to do something very bad, but then the other one came, and killed Mizuki in a vicious manner," said Hinata, as that was mostly true with the exception of Mizuki tell her about Kyuubi being sealed within Naruto, but her cousin didn't need to know that, and it wasn't her right to tell him nor anyone else for that matter. Neji nodded his head in understanding, as they began walking back to the village with the other members of the team regrouping with them along the way, and all the while they were thinking the same thing. Just who the hell was this demon running around the elemental countries? Thanks for listening, and remember the disrespect is real.